What's up YouTube, it's your boy Tits here, and today we're going to talk about the dual heat swords and the dual ether swords. Not the dual daggers, dual ether swords. I basically want to talk about the best build to use for the dual heat swords damage wise, and honestly I would say the best charge attack build in the game also, the dual heat swords. And I will also give a little insight on them versus the dual ethers, since they are newer swords and they're pretty popular, but a lot of people are confused about dual heat sword, dual ethers, what's better. So let's do stats real quick, basic stats for both. Dual heat swords, 30 damage, 1.0 rate. I forgot what the rate was for the dual ethers. Dual ethers are 1.3 fire rate. The thing is with the dual ethers and the dual heat swords is it's going to come down to dual heat swords are better for charge attack. Dual heat swords are better for charge attack. Dual ethers are better for regular attacks. Let's see, the charge damage is 100 on the dual ethers, 150 on dual heat swords. 1.46 charge speed for dual heat swords, and it's 1.3 for the dual ethers. Base crit is 10% chance on the dual heat swords and 1.5 multiplier with the crit damage. Crit really doesn't apply. Crit builds really aren't good in this game. They're really not good for melee because it's just because the way it's multiplied, and the mod only goes up to 30%. So 30% times 10, that's nothing. So that's why, it's not good to waste all them points, in the crit. And the ethers, I'm not even gonna mention, the crit with the ether. It's also small. It's no reason to do a crit build for either of them. So, the thing about dual heat swords and ethers, let's talk about disadvantages and advantages. So, the dual heat swords, a little bit, as far as just hack and slash, they're a little bit slower, than the ethers. And as far as charge damage, charge attacks, the dual heat swords do 150 and the ethers only do 100. Yet the ethers are a little bit faster charging up. The ethers also, they both do both swords do 3 times damage against the infested. The ethers do plus 3 times damage against corpus on slot attacks. That's one main thing that makes the ethers better in a way than the dual heat swords. And I don't mean like, they're better. It's just in that instance, that's something they do that the dual heat swords can't. The heat swords do a jump attack that has fire AoE damage. That's not really that big of a deal. You don't need to be wasting time doing that. You just want to be getting them one-shot kills. What else? And then the dual ethers also ignore armor. And for charge attack wise, they both ignore armor because everything ignores armor on the when a melee does a charge attack. So basically, in the end, the conclusion is if you're doing a hack and slash type build, after you're all modded up and everything, your ethers are going to be better, and you have the advantage of doing better against corpus, and it's armor piercing. Now, if you're trying to do a charge attack build, the dual heat swords are going to be best. And to be honest, charge attack build in this game is the best way to go almost all the time. It's just better damage wise. The melees, they're not that good as far as top damage goes for hack and slash, just straight melee. Now, a big argument is a lot of people like to say that, well, the heat swords are only 50 more damage, but they're slower, than the ethers. Well, here's the thing. Here's what you got to understand. You're going to have your charge mod up to 150%. Now, after 150% is applied to a 150 on the heat swords and 100 on the ethers, the dual heat swords are going to put out a base white damage of 375 and the ether's only 250. That's 125 difference, which is pretty big. And if you crit, it's even bigger because the crit goes off base damage. Now also, when you get your charge speed up, you're going to be doing charge attack plenty fast enough with the heat swords. And I've tested this out, and you can get, I've tested it out a couple different ways. Timing it, having certain amounts of enemies, and with the amount of, charge attacks you'll be able to do in a match, with the dual heat swords, you're going to do a lot more damage than the dual ethers, a decent bit more. And also, they both can hit multiple enemies. I'm pretty sure up to 3 if they're right around you. Now, without further ado, the mods to put in. It's also going to be similar if you were doing a straight melee build, except you don't need pressure point. So the thing to know here is when doing charge attacks, the pressure point mod is only for melee. It does not affect charge attacks. Fire damage does, electric does, ice does, and armor piercing does. And then, of course, those all apply to, meleeing also. Now, charge damage and charge speed are just for charge attack. So now you want this one all the way up, killing blow. You want reflex coil all the way up. You want armor piercing all the way up. North wind all the way up. Fire all the way up. And also, I forgot to mention, sorry, that it's not a huge thing, but there is no polarity slot on the ethers. So you're going to lose about 4 points here. You're not going to have, you're going to need those 4 points. You're not going to have them because you don't have the polarity slot. And as you can see, I've used all my points. So you're going to have to come down a little bit in some of these mods if you're doing charge attack build with the dual ethers. So that's going to take a little bit of damage away too. Not a whole lot, but still a little bit. So have fire damage all the way up, fire rate all the way up, and electrical, I just threw that in there. Electrical's not great damage, but I threw that in there and put it up ×3. The reason I didn't put anything else in, like the crits, because, the crit, it's just crap. Fire rate is for melee, but when you're doing a charge attack, your charge speed mod speeds up the charge time, the time your guy energizes and gets ready to charge. Now, Fury fire rate, it affects the actual animation of the swing, like the whole swinging and bringing it back. That animation, you have to figure that in too. So that's why it's nice to be able to have that all the way up too. And, if you had to lose 4 points somewhere, that would make a big difference. So anyways, this is the build you want. You're gonna do 1,000, over 1,000 base damage on people. I'm talking like, when I was testing it out, I was on like high level Grineer and stuff, level 50 Grineer, and I was still doing 1,000 plus damage. And then, of course, with Ash's Smokescreen, which this is just the best build to use for Ash's Smokescreen, it's doubled. Because everything's a yellow crit, so I was doing like well over 2k. And then on Infested, you triple that, so that's 6 to 7k. And a red crit would be like 3 or 4k base damage. Triple that, you're doing 12 to 15k on Infested. It's just ridiculous with Ash. Now, even if you don't use Ash, this is the best charge attack in my opinion. If you have any, if you have your own opinion, that's all good. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna down anybody's opinion. Definitely, hit me up and let me know what you think. Let me know some builds, you've came up with. But I've tested pretty much all the builds and all the good melee weapons. The Sindo's not gonna beat this. The Ethers aren't gonna beat this. The Zorns definitely won't beat this. Even melee and the Zorns aren't gonna beat this. The dual heat swords are best against Infested, and they are best all around in the game as a charge attack build. They will put out the most damage used correctly, just plain and simple. The math's there if you know what to look for and if you know how to mod it up correctly. And that's pretty much all I got for you today. If you are a fan of the Sindo, though, let me explain. Since it is a little bit slower, it does have nice range, but it's too slow. it's going to come in handy on defense missions. If you're on a defense mission, high level, and you're swarmed by enemies, yeah, being able to take 6 out at a time, Cindo's going to shine. All around, though, dual heat swords is the way you want to go. So, the ether swords, they look great. They do they do really well as far as the game goes, because the game's not that hard. The ethers will one-shot stuff. They do great. I'm just saying, if you're, one of them, obsessed, DPS people, you're all about having the highest, damage out of the group and this and that, you're gonna beat the ethers, plain and simple. And you're gonna see a lot of people arguing about it in the chat. You're gonna see a lot of people, wondering which ones are better. And in my opinion, from mathematically testing this, the dual heat swords won. So you can test it out yourself and see for yourself. But these are the mods you want to use. Go buy everything I said. And sorry this video was a little bit longer, but this is all good stuff that it's you need to know and take in take in as a factor. So you'll understand the melee and charge attack and the mods and all that. Hope this video helped, guys. Please comment, like, subscribe if it did, and just shoot me a question if you have any, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.